Welcome to BG Academy. Today we will talk about one group of the factors that can cause NOx sensor malfunctioning. It is still very common in many workshops that whenever an error comes from NOx sensor, the decision is simple: to replace NOx sensor. Today I will show you that this is not always necessary. How the NOx sensor is built, you had a chance to see on one of our previous movies. So far there is two arrangements possible. You may have one NOx sensor, then the NOx sensor is located after the SCR, because the SCR, the main function of the SCR is to reduce nitric oxides from the exhaust gases. So the NOx sensor measures the concentration of the nitric oxides inside the exhaust gases that leaves the SCR to control the efficiency of the SCR. There is another arrangement where you have two NOx sensors. One is located before the SCR and the other one after. So comparing those two signals, those two measurements, the ECU can know how efficiently the SCR works. And as you can see, the SCR surrounded by NOx sensors is located after the DPF filter. And this is for the reason. The group of factors, very common group of factors that causes NOx sensor malfunctioning, is the probe contamination. The probe that is located inside the exhaust pipe can easily be contaminated. It works absolutely fine and it is very durable as long as the only thing that reaches the probe is a dry gas, without any particles, without any liquids. As soon as any particles or liquids reaches the probe, the detection chambers inside the probe, the NOx sensor is unable to measure properly the concentration of the nitric oxide in exhaust gases. And then first thing that happens is the error to be displayed on the dashboard, pointing out the NOx sensor as a cause. But in these cases, NOx sensor is just a messenger that brings us the message that something has happened. Something wrong is going on in the exhaust system. So of course, blaming the NOx sensor in first place is like blaming the messenger for bringing us bad message. It's not a good practice and it drives us nowhere. So there are four medias inside the exhaust system that can very easily and quickly make the NOx sensor malfunctioning. It could be a water. A water is a byproduct of the combustion process, but also water condensates inside the exhaust pipe whenever we turn off the engine, whenever the exhaust system cools down. So once we start the engine, the water is being blown out of the exhaust system, and if it covers the NOx sensor probe, we have NOx sensor error. Another thing is a fuel, unburned fuel, which can come from malfunctioning injector on the engine, for example. So the fuel in the exhaust gases acts the same way. It covers the probe and it makes the measurement impossible. The engine oil, when the engine burns the oil, we usually say the engine burns the oil, but actually, as a matter of fact, the engine blows out the oil to the exhaust system. The oil in the exhaust gases is terrible in such a complex system like this. It causes lots of issues. One of them is NOx sensor malfunctioning. The extensive soot in the exhaust gases can also be caused by the malfunctioning injector, but also it can be caused by the malfunctioning or overfilled the DPF filter. This is why the SCR is located after the DPF filter, because all these soot and particles supposed to be captured inside before they reach the SCR. So if the soot goes through the DPF and was not eliminated from the exhaust gases, it will cover the probe, and again it will cause NOx sensor malfunctioning. And also, as you can see, before the SCR we have a urea injector, because the urea or AdBlue is being injected into the SCR. So if there is, for some reason, too much urea injected into the SCR and it reaches the NOx sensor probe, it will cause the same issue. What kind of issue is this? Well, the engine management system, the ECU, the electronic control unit, applies certain circumstances, certain conditions to the engine. So within these conditions, a certain feedback is being expected. If the feedback from the NOx sensor is out of the expected range, the ECU points out the NOx sensor as the factor that causes malfunctioning. So we see the error, NOx sensor error. And this is why the first decision of the mechanic is to replace NOx sensor. But as I said on the beginning, not always this should be considered in the first place. Because if we detect the real cause and the proper action is being taken in advance, in proper advance, we can spare the NOx sensor. After eliminating the real cause, like a malfunctioning injector, like an engine blowing out the oil to the exhaust, like extensive water accumulation inside the exhaust system, like malfunctioning the urea injector. Once this is eliminated, we can take a long test drive on the highway, and it is a great chance that everything will go back to normal. If the error will not repeat, it will be eventually ignored by the ECU, eliminated. But when the contamination of the NOx sensor probe is too extensive, if the probe is exposed on the contamination environment for too long time, for too long period, then the replacing NOx sensor will be necessary. And the very confusing is when, for instance, on the very beginning, the first mechanic decision is to replace NOx sensor. If the NOx sensor is replaced, everything goes back to normal with the new NOx sensor. So it brings a wrong conclusion that the real cause was eliminated, which was the NOx sensor. That is not particularly true, because the new NOx sensor with the new perfectly clean probe will also be exposed to the contaminating environment, and the probe will start malfunctioning soon after. So once the contaminating factor is being eliminated, in many cases it would be enough to just unplug the NOx sensor and to plug it back, the very same one sensor, to reinstall it on the ECU. And then there is a great chance that everything will go back to normal, as well as with the brand new NOx sensor. So we will spare a lot of costs, because the NOx sensor is not a cheap thing.